This is a quick exercise to help you recognize which emotions are easy for you to handle and which ones are hard for you to handle. Because you're human, there are going to be some emotions that have been handed down to you from your parents and from the society that you've grown up in, and that you've been taught are dangerous and are not safe to be around. The Circle of Security, they have this book, Raising a Secure Child, and they've got some online resources as well. They talk about shark music emotions. So emotions that when we feel in ourselves or we see in other people, our brain plays the Jaws shark music and we feel like they're dangerous. They have a 4-minute video on YouTube. If you YouTube search Circle of Security shark music, they outline that really well in that little video. And this exercise is to kind of build upon that so that you can recognize them in yourself. You might have seen something like this before, sort of describing that, how it's emotions that underlie our actions and our behaviors, seeing it as the part of the iceberg that's below the water. And that's definitely true. And emotions, the less you know about them and the less you kind of study them in yourself, the more of a control they have on you. And I sometimes think of it as kind of a little, a puppet on a puppeteer. And emotions, they pull our strings, literally and figuratively, and they make us act in ways. And the more aware we are of our emotions and which ones we find hard to handle and we're more reactive to, and which ones we're more comfortable with and find easier to handle, then it's like kind of cutting the strings or putting our hand on top of the strings, so that we might have a knee-jerk reaction to act a certain way when that emotion is present. But if we're aware of it, then we can kind of pause and be like, hang on now, that's my default reaction, but do I actually want to do it? So it's quicker to do this exercise than it is to actually learn to tolerate and deal with the emotions differently. But this is a start. And if you're not aware of it in yourself, then you can't take the next steps. So this is a sheet from the Daniel Siegel, Tina Payne book, The Whole Brain Child. And you can find this online, again, searching, or if you're watching this video, there's a good chance that I've already given you this sheet. So what I want you to do, and it's a good idea for everyone in the family to do it, is to take pencils. So you've got your traffic light system, red, orange, green, and you're going to color or just mark in red the emotions or the feelings that leave you feeling like angry or really, really sad or upset, or make you withdraw when you either feel them in yourself or when you see them in someone else. And then you want to mark orange the ones that make you a little bit uncomfortable. So you don't love being around them, but you can stand it for a little bit of time. And then in green, the ones that are really easy for you to handle. You have no problem with someone displaying them, or you don't mind feeling it yourself. They might even be your default emotions, the ones that you quickest jump to. So go through the different emotions and feelings, mark them, either just going with your gut reaction, or imagine a time when you felt that, or remember a time that you saw that emotion in someone else, and mark it red, orange, or green. Now, the best thing about this is that then you recognize which are your danger emotions, which are your shark emotions. And so if there's a time when that comes up and either you're faced with that emotion or someone else around you is, and you overreact or you underreact or you push them away or you try to shut it down or you shame them or you blame them or you feel guilty or ashamed of yourself for feeling that emotion, or you try to hide it, then in the back of your head you'll be like, oh, that's because this is a really hard emotion for me. This is a red one for me, or this is an orange one for me. And if you've shared with the other people in your family which ones are your red and orange and green ones, then it lets you give a little bit more support to each other, so that if your reaction is to move away from someone, or to be like, you're on your own with this, or, what are you crying over that for? Or like, stop being so angry, that then they can remember this is one of their shark music emotions. This is one of their red emotions. This is one of their orange emotions. And they can cut you a bit of slack and be like, that's why they're reacting that way. And the process of changing our reactions and cutting the strings or taking back control of our actions and our behaviors, it's a lifetime's work once we start doing it. And it really comes from, first of all, just being aware of it, and then in an instance you'll notice after the fact, you'll be like, oh yeah, I reacted in a way that I'm not really proud of, or that I don't actually want to, or in a way that wasn't supportive either of myself or of the other person. And then you'll say, oh, I wish I'd done that differently, or maybe next time I'll do it differently. And then it'll happen that when you're in the moment, you'll recognize, oh, I'm doing it now. This, you know, I'm in the throes of a sharp music emotion and I'm shutting it down, or I'm moving away from the other people, or I'm feeling bad about myself. And then you'll notice just beforehand, and you'll have a choice then. You'll be like, which way am I going to act? Am I going to try to breathe deeply and stay with this feeling, or tolerate it in the other person, or give them permission and space to feel it, or give myself permission and space to feel it? And then it'll happen that you'll see that emotion coming, and you'll be able to stay with it, and you'll be able to actually feel it. And in some of my other videos, I've talked about how an actual emotion, the feeling that's coming from our body, which is an emotion, it lasts 90 seconds if you can just tolerate it for 90 seconds. And so the more practice you have of doing that, the easier it becomes. And it's like strengthening a muscle. And the more we can tolerate emotions, then the freer we are to move a way that we're actually choosing, rather than a way that's kind of been programmed into us. And it lets us build stronger relationships. It lets us be a bit braver in our lives. It lets us tolerate more experiences than we can if we're scared or trying to flee from certain emotions. And it makes us healthier in our bodies and in our minds as well.